Hello all! So once again, I'm here to talk about the cut content from Arifureta, this time focusing on Volume 2, all about Shea. And, I gotta say, only about, 30% of this stuff actually got into the anime. At all. I'm actually amazed how much they managed to cut out of this without completely changing the storyline. I mean, the first volume, I said they cut out so much just to squeeze it into 5 episodes. This one they squeezed into 2. I mean, seriously, how is this even freaking possible? Alright, but let's get into it. Starting off, when they first come out of the portal, when they first, get out of the dungeon for the first time, they aren't treated with sunlight like in the anime. Instead, they find themselves in another cave. Which actually makes a lot of sense, You didn't want the whole, magical portal leading to the secret underground Liberator dungeon to be, just out in the open. This takes them through several more tunnels, several through different passageways. They have to use the ring of his to get through all of it, and then finally they're out in the sunlights. Though not really in a safe location, the Rising Gorge is probably one of the most terrifying places on that entire planet. Essentially, it's full of monsters. Magic doesn't really work there because it just kind of evaporates out, so you need a lot of power to do even simple spells. And it's basically considered hell on Earth, or hell on whatever the hell their planet's called. And if you fall in there, you're gonna die. So, not a great place to be if you're anyone other than Hajime. I mean, for him, it's, no trouble at all, just a mild inconvenience. And then he meets Shea and saves her from the two-headed dinosaur, which, again, a little disappointing. In the light novel, he shoots one of the dinosaurs in the head, and the other head has to kind of drag around his dead brother. I mean, grim, but just funny as all hell. I think that would be amazing to see animated. And then Shea, wow, they took out quite a bit about her. So let's get into that. She was born with white hair instead of blue hair like the other rabbit men, and that meant that she could wield mana directly like Yui and Hajime. In fact, when she finds out they can do it, she's amazed, I finally found comrades who are like me! Yay! Which is the really cute moment right there. But to the other beastmen, this is a sign that she's evil, she's of the devil, she's, a disaster waiting to destroy them all, which makes sense, because she's actually pretty freaking powerful. Even though she has literally zero magical affinity, her power is in body enhancement, allowing her to become 6% as strong as Hajime with very little training. And she can basically do it subconsciously, so if that keeps going on, eventually she's going to become stronger than he is, which I think would be absolutely amazing. I mean, he'd still be more deadly because of all his weapons, but just in terms of physical strength, she could outgun him. Not the best choice of words, but okay. The body enhancement magic is also the only reason she's able to, get any time with Hajime because he keeps trying to hit her, so she'll let go of him, and she just keeps holding on until he finally gives in and says, "Okay, I'll listen to your story." She also has a very interesting farsight power, which lets her see one possible future. This is mentioned once and not really expanded on, but it's actually a really cool power. Essentially how it works is she can see, if she activates it, she can see one possible future out of infinite number of them. But doing so requires basically all the energy she has and leaves her completely exhausted for the rest of the day. However, when she's about to die, it activates automatically. We see this in the fight with Milady, where, she tells them, "Oh, look up, there's stuff that's about to destroy us." I assume in time, her hearing or whatever that let her sense the danger coming, but no, she foresaw her own death right then and was able to prevent it. This also takes up a lot of mana, but for some reason not as much as when she activates it on command. Some iffy about that, so I'm guessing maybe at that point all possible futures are ones where she's dead, so a lot less you have to look into. Hard to say. Anyway, because of her powers, the other beastmen would have killed her if they saw her. So her rabbit man, the Halia tribe, decided that they're going to keep her safe and hidden for her entire life. They even built big walls around their village to make sure no one ever saw her. Though they didn't keep her from running around in the forest, which I find kind of weird. I mean, her enhanced hearing and senses and all that made sure that, no one saw her until they finally did. But this led to a whole myth going on in the forest. Oh, have you heard about the white spirit that runs through the trees? Oh, I bet that's some kind of new kind of monster, which definitely did not help her self-respect whatsoever. Her mother's also an interesting character. They didn't really expand much on this, but essentially she wanted to be a hero, an adventurer, all of that. But because of her weak constitution, because she was always sick, she couldn't. So she's actually really grateful that her daughter was so powerful. Because she's like, now you can go be an adventurer I always wanted to be. Which I think she just wanted to live an ordinary life. But okay, if you want to, push your dreams on your children, that's up to you. Anyway, finally someone did find out about Shea, and the whole Halia tribe had to run away because they were essentially sentenced to death. So they escaped the Sea of Trees, and they immediately run into soldiers of the Holster Empire. So not great. Essentially, a whole lot of them are abducted, captured. Those who are in good shape are sent back to the Empire to be used as slave labor, or just personal slaves. People like rabbit ears. The rest are murdered. So some nice people right here. Anyway, in order to escape certain death, they all run into the Rising Gorge. We think, we'll be safe. No, they won't. Instead, most of them are eaten by other monsters there, so she is feeling a lot of guilt at this point. But she saw Hajime in her vision, and she went out and said, I'm going to go find him, and then we'll be saved. So essentially, Hajime makes a promise that he's going to keep her and the rest of the rabbits safe until he gets to the Sea of Trees. The center of it, the Grand Tree, where he thinks the next labyrinth dungeon is. And no idea what they're supposed to be going on about here. I mean, they just have the gorge end in a forest. That's definitely kind of weird. So this then leads to what I think is the biggest disappointment from this adaptation. At the end of the Rising Gorge, they come across 30 Empire soldiers. And they are very nice fellows. The commander basically says, all right, my men, pick out 2 or 3 of the rabbit men and then have your fun until they're broken. Yeah, nice guys. And then when they spot Yui and Hajime says he's not going to give up the rabbit men, the commander threatens to cut off his arms and legs and force him to watch while he rapes Yui. So, needless to say, that man did not have a head for much longer. Hajime literally blew off his head. The rest of the soldiers are all panicking. They get into formation. Seriously, these are actually described as being the most elite of the Empire soldiers. He kills them in about 30 seconds. I mean, they all just fall apart to pieces. Then there's just one left begging for mercy, and Hajime shoots him. And this leads to a very interesting moment for Hajime where he's considering who he is now. The reason he fought them alone was because he needed to know, can I kill? Can I take a human life? And he found out, yes, he could. And honestly, this bothered him a little bit. Just how much the Abyss had taken away from him, how much it had changed him. I mean, he's grateful for it because he knows it'll save his life in the coming battles for sure. But at the same time, it still bothers him a little bit. And that would have been a great moment of self-reflection in the anime. I really wish they'd kept it in. Oh, but he also uses opportunities to figure out if his bullets could pierce armor without the railgun effect added on to them. So yeah. So yeah, interesting, somehow both a moment of self-reflection and a moment of experimenting on human lives. So good for you. Anyway, then he gets to the forest, and yeah, and I have absolutely no idea what they're going with for the story here. Essentially, what happens next is, once he gets certain part into the forest, the Tiger Men, the guards of their village, of the main kingdom of the Beast Men, spot him, and they surround him, and they're like, we're gonna kill all of you! And then Hajime shoots him, like, just missing his ear, and he's like, okay, so if I try to fight you, I'm gonna die. But if I let you go, I'll be a traitor to my people. I don't know what to do here. Essentially, like, these elite guards of the Beastmen are all just shaking in their boots because Hajime is so freaking powerful, and he can kill them without a, moment's hesitation. At this point, they called in Elder Ulfric, the elf, And he's basically realized that Hajime had cleared the first dungeon. There's like an ancient law, only the elders know, that says, okay, if anyone shows up with one of the rings or knows the truth about the liberators and all that, just let them in, be super nice to them, and do all that. The elders at first seem to think that this is, because it means they're on their side, they're good people, but Hajime quickly realizes, and they quickly realize too, that it's because they know they could never win in a fight against anyone who cleared a labyrinth. Or the guys who originally made that rule realized that. And so yeah, don't piss off Hajime is the basic premise of that. They don't seem to get that, though. I mean, they definitely don't get that first, because the one elder, a bear man named Jin, I think this is supposed to be him here, he challenges Hajime to a fight, by which I mean he literally tries to rip him in half. Oh yeah, beastmen don't like humans very much. Anyway, it does not go well for Jin. His arm is stopped in Hajime's cold death grip, and then he's thrown through several walls. Yeah, it actually said it's a miracle he survived, and that he'll never be able to fight again. Personally, I'm just happy that he wasn't murdered. So then the rest of the elders like, alright, we'll help you get to the tree, but the rabbit man, the Hollies you're with, yeah, they've been sentenced to death, and we're gonna kill them. At which point, Hajime basically starts laughing. He basically explains, I promise to protect these people, and I plan on keeping my promise, and if you try to hurt them, I will commit genocide and burn your entire kingdom to the ground. Yeah, so just Jesus Christ. Eventually, they realize that Hajime can also, manipulate mana directly, and they're like, alright, just all of you, get the freak out of our kingdom. We won't try to kill you anymore. You don't try to kill us. Fair is fair. Just a really great moment for that. But as it turns out, though, the reason Hajime actually trained these guys is because he has to wait like a week, 2 weeks before he can actually go to the tree. There's a super thick fog around it that gets much worse at certain times of the month. So they basically need to wait. And at this point, then he decides that he's going to train the rabbit men to, fulfill his promise to keep them safe. And as pathetic as these rabbit men looked from what we saw in the anime, they were so much more pathetic in the light novel. I mean, they literally burst into tears and cried openly for hours on end every time they killed a monster. They specifically avoided stepping on any bug or flower in the middle of fighting. I mean, Hajime basically has to beat them into shape. At one point, he just starts shooting all the flowers around them, telling them, start killing or I'm going to destroy the flowers you love! Which somehow works. And they become brutal, horrible monsters. Actually worse than they appear in the anime. Again, I don't know how that's possible. The one guy, his name is Par, and he called Shea Oni-chan. By the end of Hajime's training, he changed his name to Baltfeld the Executioner, and he carries around a crossbow. He is 10! The light novel even specifically says that every time they say the word Baltfeld the Executioner, the light novel has to remind us, please remember, this kid is 10. Yeah, so that's fun. Basically, Shea's father says he realizes the ultimate truth in life, that 90% of the world's problems can be solved with violence, which I say closer to 85, but, that's a personal preference, I think. And then they just start chanting, slaughter, 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 slaughter! So lots of fun there. But thankfully, they don't stay this vicious, horrible monsters forever. Basically, I told you, Jin, the bear beast man, was nearly killed by Hajime, and his whole tribe basically is planning on ambushing the rabbit men and killing them all. But the rabbit men have much better hearing and are much better in the fog, so they end up ambushing the bear men, and a whole lot of them get killed. I mean, it is actually brutal. By the end of it, they're all just all the bear men are just cowering in fear, crying, begging for mercy. I really wish we'd seen it animated, honestly. That would have been funny as all hell. And in the end, Shea comes in, and she doesn't actually care if the bear men live or die. She just doesn't want her family being as bad as the soldiers who tortured them. And they're like, alright, we went too far. And Hajime apologizes a little bit. And then then Hajime basically goes to the bear men and say, okay, I'll make sure they don't kill you. In exchange, you guys owe me a favor. Which is tantamount to treason for them, Going back to their home and saying, by the way, we all owe Hajime a huge favor for not killing us. yeah, that's essentially treason to him, but he agrees to it. But the second in command of the Bearmen agrees to it simply because, he dragged all of his young cohorts into this, and because of him, they all got killed. So yeah, the Rabbitmen calm down quite a bit. Though they're still strong and violent, they're not so murder happy as they were. They also want to join Hajime in his, journey across the entire world. He basically says, you know what, stay here, keep getting stronger, and when I come back, if you're strong enough, I'll let you join me. They're like, yay! Oh yeah, also, to revive the giant dead tree and open up the door to the labyrinth, they're gonna need 4 rings and the ancient magic that is regeneration. So, if they have bad enough luck, they might have to, clear out 6 labyrinths before they finally find regeneration and can go, unlock this tree. I definitely think regeneration is going to be interesting when Corey rejoins the team. But just because that'll make her way more powerful, make her able to heal more wounds. Hell, maybe regrow Hajime's arm. Probably not. He likes the arm the way it is, but maybe. Oh, speaking of her, she actually had a really great moment this light novel too. They didn't show it at all in the anime, but essentially, she's learning how to use her defensive spells as attacks. Like using her binding chains to strangle monsters to death and all that. And she was practicing this for hours on end not in the dungeon, she's out on the surface where the monsters are weaker so she has a better chance to try it out without getting killed. But she does this until she literally passes out and can't move anymore, and Shizuki has to come in and save her and then carry her back home, even though Kalki wanted to do it himself, because of course he did. Anyway, yeah, then Hajime and the gang leave the Rabbitmen to their killing and slaughtering, and go to a village, actually. That's weird. Their whole time going to the village was essentially taken out. And a lot happens here. Let's see, to start off, Hajime basically puts a collar around Shea and claims that she is a slave because it makes more sense in him traveling with a beast woman, whatever. And the collar also has a tracking device in it and a telepathy, so he can find her no matter where she is, which very helpful because she's definitely going to get kidnapped at some point. Or just, wander off because of her own stupidity. He also has to have a very interesting conversation with the guards when they see his ID, because his stats are so stupidly strong that he would be, as he says, more powerful than any hero or demon lord that ever lived. So he basically says, oh, yeah, I was attacked by monsters and it broke. And the guards either have to believe that story or believe that they are literally talking to a god right now. So they choose to believe his story. And then he ends up going to the guild hall, trade in some of his loot for actual money. And then we actually get an explanation of the money system. It goes blue, red, yellow, purple, green, white, black, silver, gold. And that's the values 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, respectively. So pretty similar to Japanese yen. Interesting enough, this is also the same way adventurers are ranked, and Hajime becomes a licensed adventurer, so that he gets a better discount on the loot he sells. He starts off at blue, which is, the lowest rank, and they basically explain that, because you're a non-combat type, that means the highest you can ever go is black. You can't hit silver or gold. Though I think this might change, because as soon as he shows them all the loot he has from the monsters he hunted in the sea of trees, they immediately call the manager over and decide, you know what? Screw it, you're the top rank. This might be black, but it might also be gold, because I remember at one point in the anime, a few episodes after this, they comment Hajime is a gold-ranked adventurer, so they might have just decided to break the rule for him just because he's so, freaking OP. The receptionist here is also really interesting. Her name is Catherine. She's the receptionist, an appraiser, and a map maker, and she's really useful, really kind, and she pokes some fun at Hajime, and it's really cute. I kind of wish we'd seen her. Anyway, after this, he walks away with about 500,000 of their currency, spread out over 50-some-odd bills. They describe like little metal squares or rectangles as their currency, which are so thin and light, Hajime is easily able to carry like 50 of them with no problem, so curious. And he goes to the inn. Yeah, this scene was in fact in the light novel. Oh my freaking god. Actually, it gets worse, because the receptionist right there, she's young, but she's a freaking pervert. She asks so many questions about the three-way they're about to have that her mother essentially has to drag her away and apologize for her. And later on, when Shea and Yui sneak into Hajime's bath, she also sneaks in just so she can watch the three-way in the bath. Her mother catches her and then spanks her. Really wish we'd seen that in the anime. That would have been funny. Alright, next day is Hajime's building Shea's hammer. Yui and Shea go clothes shopping. And there they meet Christabel, who is described as a large, muscular man in a dress. Yeah, there's a whole lot weird about that, but they end up really liking Christabel, and he/she is really great at choosing some outfits for them, so good on her/him. They then are followed around by about 50 guys who want to buy Shea from Hajime or make Yui their own, and one guy Lupin dives, I'm actually quoting from the light novel here, into Yui, and she ends up freezing him solid. So yeah, this shocks everyone. They're like, how'd you do that? I didn't even hear her cast the incantation. She must have a magic circle drawn somewhere on her body. And then she begins unfreezing the guy, and he thinks that this is his chance to woo Yui and convince her to be his. It is not. Because the only place she unfreezes is down there. She then launches wind attack after wind attack after wind attack down there to the point where he passes out, and then she looks at him and says, "You are no longer a man." So yeah, she basically castrates him with wind. Yay. Yeah, I kind of want to see that, honestly. Anyway, yeah, so then he ends up becoming Maribel and apprentices under Christabel until he opens his own shop. That was such a weird scene. So after this, they decided to finally go to the labyrinth, the Milady Rise and Gorge Labyrinth. And we've actually missed out some interesting things that Hajime's built, like self-heating pans, self-warming, self-hiding tents. Like, he has all this super cool stuff built in for camping outside that's just really neat. I really liked it. Anyway, they finally make it to the labyrinth. Shea finds it when she has to pee. And as soon as she goes in, she's struck by a whole bunch of black-tipped arrows painted black in the dark. So, yeah. She does wet herself, but they don't really make a big deal of it, and they just give her a change of clothes. And then begins what can essentially be called hell. I mean, the Ryzen Labyrinth is so much worse than even the anime portrays it to be. I mean, there are signs constantly mocking them. At one point, a thing of stairs turns into a slide, and they nearly fall into a pit of paralyzing scorpions. Yeah, essentially, they would have fallen in the pit, been paralyzed, and then starved to death as the scorpions crawled over them and ate them. That sounds fun. God damn, that's... Ow! Yeah, that would have been bad. That would have been really bad. At one point, Hajime uses his super-powered fist to break a rock boulder into pieces, and is immediately followed up by a steel boulder that is throwing acid in all directions. Yeah! So then they finally get to the end of the labyrinth where all the golems are. They fight them, and oh, fun fact, they can repair themselves because the floor is made of the same material they are. So yay. They solve the puzzle at the door, they burst through, they get to another room, and they're back at the start of the labyrinth. Yeah. This wasn't just, part way through. This is when they were at the very end that this happened. And in fact, they were sent back to the beginning another 7 times over the course of a week in which they are in this freaking hellhole. So, that's terrifying. By a certain point, they just stop feeling or stop reacting at all to the traps and just, try to keep going. I should also mention the fact that they can't actually use really magic at all in this labyrinth. I mean, they managed to make away with some of the lower level spells just by, pouring so much mana into it, but the dispersion effect that's present in the Rising Gorge is especially present in the labyrinth. So, big problem for them. Not really sure what's going on with Yui here. I guess... I mean, in the light novel, it describes her basically just carrying around a container of water so that she can use her water spells easier because she doesn't have to, make water. I'm guessing what it's supposed to be, but instead they make him look like she's carrying, like, guns or something. It was weird. Anyway, they finally get back to the room with the golems in it, rush through to get to the door, which opens up into an actual, boss room this time. And the golems actually follow them through and are part of the whole big boss battle against Milady herself. So yeah, that's terrifying. Oh, also they fly. The Light actually describes them as falling upwards towards them as they run on the ceiling. Literally, the golems are running on the ceiling and then falling in reverse towards the party. So yeah, that's just absolutely freaking terrifying. And so yeah, they have to fight the golems and Milady and the giant golem at the same time. Milady does say something interesting though here. She says that her spirit was transferred to the golem using Pachon's or Lachon's powers, which is definitely interesting. So there's another, I'm guessing that's another one of the liberators who have the power to move living things into non-living matter. I'm kind of curious what that is. That's going to be another one of the ancient magics they get eventually, which is interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Anyway, a whole big boss battle against her. They end up ripping off her arms multiple times. Huge, really long, complicated fight because, the other golems keep coming at them. Finally managed to take her out in a way not too dissimilar from the light novel. And then she's finally down. And then as she's on her deathbed, giving a whole, speech, she says a few interesting things. She says that in order to accomplish Hajame's goal, he'll need all the ancient magics. So interesting enough, she didn't say in order to get home you need the ancient magic. She said to accomplish your goal. So it might be the case, once he accomplishes all the dungeons, has all the ancient magics, then he can fight the gods, and the gods are the ones with the magic he needs. The world transferring magic, that might be the case. She also gives them the location of all the other labyrinths, which, thank you! That's useful! Though it says that one of them surprises all three of them, which is interesting. I'm not exactly sure where it would be that they'd be surprised. My best guess is the church, the Pope's home, up on the mountain there. Like, they built the temple, the church, whatever you want to call it, on top of the labyrinth so that no one else can go to it. Or maybe I was wrong before, and that's the one that has the world teleporting magic, and they managed to clear it and you steal the magic for themselves, or something like that. That could definitely be interesting if that's like the final dungeon they go to, They have to go in, kill the Pope and all of his supporters and whatnot. And just go into the Pope and say, "Hi, remember me? I'm the guy you summoned to this world. Now I'm strong enough to kill your god, so let me through." She also explains that her whole labyrinth, all the evil tricks she did, were essentially to prepare them for the horrible, horrible, horrible things the gods have planned. Which definitely makes a lot of sense, though Hajime kind of doubts that because he feels like, you can't be that annoying by choice. It has to be part of who you are. Somewhere here where Yui compliments her on doing a good job is actually really interesting and enlightening. They explain it more because Yui knows what it's like to be sealed away from the entire world for decades, centuries. Milady chose herself to lock herself away for even longer than that, just to accomplish her goal, just to save the world from the evil gods. And to Yui, that's like the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate choice a person could make. And she really respects her for that. In fact, when Milady dies, she and Yui just start openly crying about how strong and powerful and amazing she was, while Hajame's like, yeah, she's not dead. He fully expected her to be alive in just another body. Anyway, yeah, then they do find the real her, and they use her treasure trove to steal a bunch of stuff for themselves. Some rare materials Hajime can use to make new weapons and stuff and all that. And they get the ancient magic. Which, of course, as was said in the anime, only Yui really is proficient in it. Only she can really use it. But she does give some interesting suggestions. She said that Shea could use it to change her body weight. Make her heavier or lighter, which I think could be very, very useful for her, Make herself super light, fly into the air, and then make herself, weigh 50 tons and smash down and take out enemies like that. That'd be funny as all hell, and I'd really like to see that. Hajime, she says, you have creation magic, you'll figure something out, which, fair enough. Pretty sure that's how he makes the drones, which I guess will be in the next volume. And then she flushes them down the toilet and into the lake, and I just really like the scene. Hajime doesn't actually let her get away with it quite that easily. He actually ends up throwing a grenade attached to a knife into the wall next to her so it explodes and Makes even more of a mess for her to clean up, which I really liked. Anyway, then they're going out, and she has a whole little conversation with a fish, with a human-faced fish. Yeah, that was definitely in the light novel too. That makes a lot of sense. I can't imagine that would have been added to the anime for no reason. And they pop in the spring, which, weirdly enough, is where Christabel, the innkeeper's daughter, and a few adventurers are all just waiting around. No real reason. They just were out there, looking for materials, and when they saw people just, explode out of the lake. Oh, also, Hajime tries to get Yui to give Shea CPR, but she has no idea what he's talking about. Apparently that concept just doesn't exist in this world yet, so he has to do it. And interesting enough, Yui actually says that she's not jealous because Shea worked really hard this time, and she deserves this little reward. So that was nice. So they go back to town, and that was basically the end of it for Hajime. We get also a little flash over to Yuka. Remember this girl? Hajime essentially saved her life during the whole, battle against the skeletons behemoth thing on the bridge. Of course, everyone is still bad-mouthing him as being a worthless loser, because of course they are, because they all suck. And yet they're all, sitting there in the salon traumatized over Hajime's death. Well, at the same time, still bad-mouthing him. I really don't get that. But yeah, anyway, this is the salon where they're staying. It's essentially the place where the heroes can relax after a hard day's work. Though for them, they're just there constantly 24/7 because they're too traumatized to leave the castle. And they each have their own private maid, which I liked. Actually, it's a really interesting discussion with Shizuku's maid, where she essentially says that they shouldn't put so much pressure on her because, yeah, she is just a high school teenage girl like the rest of them. And, the pressure everyone has on her for her always to be perfect, always to handle the situation, always to just be calm, cool, and collected is too much for her, and it's eventually going to break her. Which eventually leads to Yuka finally speaking up for the first time. I mean, literally, it says she actually stopped talking for like 2 straight months after Hajime died saving her. And she finally speaks up and says, I'm going with Ako-sensei to go help her with the farming. So I can't stick around doing nothing. And the next morning, 3 other girls, 3 other boys, and this creepy dude over here eventually decide to join her and go contribute somehow to the world. So good for her. I mean, the epilogue, essentially, the demon telling this creepy dude right here that if he helps them, if he kills his teacher, they'll essentially make him their new hero, and they'll all worship him and praise his might and his strength. And he's just absolutely pathetic, honestly. I mean, he's like, oh, we all came to this world, and I have the best powers, and everyone should think I'm the best, but they don't. I'm like, yeah, that's because you aren't actually fighting. You aren't actually leveling up your strength. You aren't actually making yourself any stronger. So, of course, no one's going to treat you like a hero. And obviously, the demon's lying to him. He's like laughing to himself, like, oh my god, this human is so freaking gullible. It's sad and pathetic. Also, just a few other side stories that were fun. 2 just parallel worlds where, like, oh, what if Hajime and Yui and Shea were all students at a magical academy? Just ridiculous. One funny one where Hajime has to explain Halloween to them, and they end up dressing up. Yui as a snow woman, or snow spirit something, and she just dresses up in mummy wrap, but doesn't wear anything underneath it. And Hajime laughs, saying he doesn't have any candy, and they say, and then they reach for his candy, so that was disturbing. Another scene where Yui is jealous at Hajime liking Shia's rabbit ears, so she gets a pair for herself. And then a pair of cat's ears, which she jokingly maybe says she ripped off of real cats. I don't know. It's kind of left ambiguous whether or not it was a joke, but just a really disturbing scene, honestly. Oh, and then the parent-teacher conference. That was funny. Hajime's parents at the parent-teacher conference. Oh my god, they're just such awkward human beings. I absolutely love them. They're just absolutely teasing their son over and over again. At one point, they actually suggest that Aiko-sensei should marry their son because she's not dating anyone, and she basically has a heart attack, and then screams into the hallway in front of all the other parents and teachers, I can't marry you because you're my students! Which I'm sure just made him even more popular. But yeah, so that was Volume 2, all the cut content from that. Like I said, biggest disappointment is just Hajime fighting against those soldiers, the slave trading soldiers, because such a great moment of self-reflection for him, such a moment where he, grows from it and realizes, just takes a step back and realizing how much he's actually changed. I really liked it and wish they included that. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. What do you think about all this cut content? Do you think any of it should have remained cut? Do you think any of it should have been included in? If so, what's your highest priority? What among everything I said do you think definitely should have been in there? Let me know what you think down below. Be sure to like, subscribe, so miss next video. It might take me a little while to get through volume 3. I got a lot of books for my birthday recently, so long reading list, but I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, until then,
Peace.